and I hope to give you good background about the conflict in Sudan now. And at the end, inshallah, you will know exactly what is happening and what is the reason of this crisis. Sudan now is passing through a very complex crisis. It started by the attempted coup staged by the dissolved Rapid Support Forces on the 15th of April last month, which turned into rebellion. The Rapid Support Forces launched treacherous attacks against the Sudanese armed forces bases, including the residence of General al-Burhan, and also the premises of the Army's General Command in Khartoum and Khartoum Airport and other vital and strategic centers in Khartoum. Also, it simultaneously attacked several military headquarters and airports in different states, including Marawi International Airport in northern Sudan. Immediately following the start of the attack, the chairman of the Transitional Sovereign Council and the commander of the armed forces, Lieutenant Fattah al-Burhan, issued a decree dissolving the Rapid Support Forces, declaring it as a rebel force. At the same time, General Burhan urged the members of the Rapid Support Forces to listen to the voice of reason and lay down their weapons, declaring general amnesty to those who put down arms, assuring that the doors are still open for members of the RSF to join the Sudanese armed forces. It is important to mention that many actions preceded the treacherous attack clearly disclose the intention of the commander of the dissolved Rapid Forces to seize power by force. One of these is that the Rapid Support Forces brought tens of thousands of its troops in Khartoum. The coordinated attack, also one of these actions, is the coordinated attack by the Rapid Support Forces on al-Burhan residence in Khartoum. Also, they attack the Khartoum Airport and Marawi Airport without the knowledge or permission of the Armed Forces Command. Also, they insisted on non-objective conditions regarding the integration of the Rapid Support Forces into the National Army, such as not being subordinate to the presidency of the Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces. And also they insisted to complete the merger process in 10 years. And this is, of course, is very clear sign that they do not intend to complete this integration in the armed forces. All this confirms that the commander of the dissolved Rapid Support Forces was planning and coordinating to coup against the armed forces. The Sudanese armed forces were able to repulse the attacks, inflicting heavy casualties and losses in the RSF, destroying their bases in Khartoum state, besides seizing their bases in the different states in Sudan. The Sudanese armed forces were able to seize bases and cut off their supply lines, a fact that pushed the RSF rebels to hide in residential areas and take civilians as human shields in violations to the local laws and the international humanitarian law. The dissolved Rapid Support Forces have also been violating all norms and international laws by attacking several foreign missions accredited to Sudan, including the embassies of Saudi Arabia, Russia, Malaysia, Egypt, many other embassies, occupying hospitals, killing civilians. Also, the Rapid Support Forces have also been committing a widespread looting, and this show very, very clearly the negative effect on the life of the civilians in Khartoum. In response to the foreign mediation, the command of the Sudanese armed forces accepted many truces proposed by regional and international community to open humanitarian corridors and enable the citizens to ensure their daily basic needs. However, the dissolved Rapid Support Forces used to take advantage of the truces to mobilize their forces and strengthen their positions in the capital, Khartoum. The Rapid Support Forces also assaulted the Sudanese armed forces personnel by its snipers positioned in different locations in Khartoum. Furthermore, the Rapid Support Forces rebels used to disguise in civilian clothes and in Sudanese armed forces and police uniform so as to commit their crimes. In the framework of its plan to spread chaos and threaten the security and safety of the citizens, the dissolved Rapid Support Forces broke into the prisons of Khartoum and other states and allowed thousands of inmates, including those convicted with death penalty, to escape. On the other side, the Sudanese armed forces adopt a strategy that allows limited and responsible use of force in compliance with the international laws and norms. In such circumstances, to ensure the safety and security of the citizens and protect the infrastructure and the Sudanese people gains from destruction. The Sudanese government considers it is fighting. This is very important to mention, that the Sudanese government considers it is fighting against the Rapid Support Forces as internal issue, where foreign intervention is neither acceptable nor tolerable. The Sudanese armed forces are living up to its constitutional role in protecting the Sudanese people. This is the most important thing, should be known by all people, I think. The Sudanese government calls on the international community. This is what we want from the international community, especially from Pakistan, who is a very brotherly country to Sudan. The Sudanese government calls on the international community to denounce this rebellion and the crimes being committed by the dissolved Rapid Support Forces, and also their attempts to seize power by illegal means and their violations against the unarmed civilians in obvious violation to the international norms and laws. Is there any foreign factor in the current crisis in Sudan? This is a question maybe raised by many people. I can say Sudan have experienced foreign intervention in its internal affairs since the early days of its independence. I think this, everyone who follows up the history of Sudan can easily know this fact. This intervention is clear in all rebellion movements occurred in Sudan since 1955, even before the independence of Sudan, till this last rebellion by the rapid support forces. Definitely many foreign powers may have played crucial roles in what is happening now. Now everyone may be hear about what is happening in Sudan and who is behind it from the foreign powers. And every day, inshallah, people will know exactly who is behind it. Although now it is not, if it is not easy now to say exactly who is he, that behind the crisis in Sudan, but inshallah by days it will be very clear. Many foreign powers may have role in this, what's happening now in Sudan, so as to benefit from the weakness or the failure of Sudan. Maybe this is one of the reasons why foreign powers every time try to intervene in Sudan. As an example for the foreign intervention in Sudan, I want to quote what Avi Dichter, the Israeli former Interior Security Minister, once said in a lecture in 2008. He said, "We had to weaken Sudan and deprive it of the initiative to build a strong and united state. What is necessary for bolstering and strengthening Israel's national security. We produced and escalated the Darfur crisis to prevent Sudan from developing its capabilities." This is the end of his quote. So it is clear maybe who could be behind what is happening now in Sudan. I don't mean only one country, but maybe many. But this is an example of who may be behind what is happening now in Sudan and why. The same minister talked about the Israelis' role in separating South Sudan in 2011 by helping the rebels at that time. International impacts of Sudan's crisis. I think there, inshallah, I don't hope that to happen, but if this crisis does not finish very quickly and soon, it would have many impacts on international, at the international level or even at the regional level. And I can say that the existence of the dissolved rapid support forces represent a great threat not to the stability and any possibility for democratic transition in Sudan, but to the peace and security and development of the whole region around Sudan and maybe even far from Sudan. Also, I can say the spread of arms, one of the impacts of the continuance of this crisis, may cause also spread of arms and armed conflicts in the whole region, because this will not be short only in Sudan, because all African countries, especially the countries neighboring Sudan, have the same circumstances which can help same thing to happen. Also, one of the things could happen by the continuance of this crisis, the increase of displacement and illegal immigration, and the consequences of these problems. Also, may be an increase of international organized crime. Also, I can say the continuous will cause very, very clear deterioration of the humanitarian and health situations in the region, not only in the Sudan. Why intervention in Sudan? I think many people do not know Sudan very well. And so they may ask themselves why intervention in Sudan? Why every time Sudan is not allowed to deal with its issues alone? I think all foreign powers who intervene in Sudan's internal affairs are pushed by their greed in the Sudan's capabilities and resources. I think you all know that Sudan is very rich, is a very rich country, rich of its resources, the arable lands, water, different climates, very, very huge livestock, the different minerals. All these are in Sudan, alhamdulillah, and I think many are pushed to have control of these resources. And we all know, and we all know now the problem which may face the world, the problem of food insecurity. And we know about the effect of the Russian-Ukrainian war. And Sudan is one of the countries that can play a very, very important role in the field of food security. So many countries may have agreed to come to Sudan to have their share on this, in this field. Also, Sudan is a very rich country with tourism. We have forests, we have deserts, 5 river Niles. We have very old and diverse civilization. The pyramids, many people do not know that the pyramids in Sudan are more than anywhere in the world. We have more than 200 pyramids, older than any pyramids in the world. So Sudan is very rich. Also, we don't neglect the very important geopolitical and geostrategic location of Sudan. Sudan is bordering 7 closed countries. This is very important. It has a shore on the Red Sea, about 800 kilometers. So Sudan is like a gateway to Africa. No other country in Africa has this advantage. Also, the most important thing for me in Sudan is the most important resource is the human resource. The Sudanese people, alhamdulillah. I want to conclude that the crisis in Sudan, just I want to give hope to people that this crisis, inshallah, can be changed into opportunities just by achieving sustainable peace and stability, and this, inshallah, will be soon, because all Sudanese people are backing their government and their armed forces, and also we need to have a smooth transition to democracy and civil governance. And I want to also to assure that General Burhan, the president of the the Sudan now, the Sovereignty Council, many times promised and committed himself to the transition to the democratic and civil transition in Sudan. Many people may hear that Mr. Hameti, as Mr. Al-Hamidi mentioned, many times talk about that he is willing to help Sudanese people to move to democracy, as if Al-Burhan is against this, which is wrong. Al-Burhan committed many times that if civil parties reached an agreement at any time, he will leave the scene and let them rule. But unfortunately, I think as Mr. Al-Hamdi mentioned, because the political parties and not, when I say political parties, I talk about very, very small groups, a very small number of political parties. They did not like to reach an agreement to have a transitional period, reasonable transitional period to go to the elections, because they know, as he mentioned, that they know very well that by elections they will not come back to rule at all. And this, I think this is the indirect reason of the crisis now, because the reason made the rapid support forces to insist on having 10 years to complete the their emerging the armed forces. I would also like to assure that Sudan's doors, this is very important also to me, because many people, as I mentioned, are greed to dominate the Sudanese resources by any way. So I say Sudan's doors are open for whoever likes to benefit from investment opportunities available in Sudan in different fields. So no need for these people to come through windows. Also, I would like to remind that Sudan now needs humanitarian support. This is also, I think, very important for our brothers in Pakistan to know. Sudan is in need of humanitarian support, especially life-saving medicines and medical supplies, and this to be coordinated at bilateral relations, bilateral level, so as to avoid undesirable aspects of international humanitarian aid. And thank you for listening. جزاكم الله خير.